gifts. It was Christmas time. The elves discussed as to what to give Mrs. Claus. They thought of many things. Finally, an elf said, "Mrs. Claus would like something that we have made ourselves. Let us all make her Christmas tree ornaments." All the elves agreed. This was their favorite work. They began to cut and paint and glue their creations. Bits of paper, glitter, and ribbon were all over the room. "These are going to be the best ornaments ever," exclaimed one elf. Late Christmas Eve, the elves hung all the ornaments on a Christmas tree, especially for Mrs. Claus. It was the prettiest Christmas tree ever. The next morning, they all greeted Mrs. Claus. "Merry Christmas!" Mrs. Claus smiled and replied, "Merry Christmas." She loved each ornament. She said, "These ornaments are so beautiful. They will always have a special place in my heart because you all have made them. Thank you." The dolls. Christmas was around the corner. At the North Pole, the elves had finished making gifts for all the boys and the girls. They were too tired. So they decided to go off to sleep. As elves were going, they heard some noises. They made their way towards the workshop. They peeped in through the window and shocked. There were dolls everywhere. They were singing and dancing. All kinds of dolls, small and big, were there. "We're having a party to say goodbye to all our friends here at the North Pole," said one doll. "Please join us for a last night here." The elves laughed and said, "We were scared without a reason. They were only dolls." The elves sighed in relief, happy that the unknown noisemakers had finally been found. They joined the dolls to celebrate the last night at the North Pole, singing and dancing until dawn. Christmas spirit. An old lady by the name of Mrs. Daisy lived in a village. Everyone knew her, for she was very sweet and friendly. One day, Mrs. Daisy went to the market to buy some eatables. She bought some eggs, bread, and tomatoes. Now, as she was returning from the market, she lost balance and her things fell down. Mrs. Daisy was confused. She did not know what to do. Then she started picking her things hurriedly. Suddenly, a girl came to help her. She had been watching everything. She helped her to pick the things up. Mrs. Daisy was extremely grateful to the girl. She thanked the girl for her help. The girl walked with Mrs. Daisy to her home back. Mrs. Daisy invited her inside. She served her tea and a wonderful cake. The girl was very happy. It was Christmas time after all. There was Christmas spirit everywhere. The old man's gift. Once there was an old man. He was all alone. But he was not lonely, for he had built a lovely birdhouse in his garden. The birds made the old man feel happy with their singing. During winter, the birds decided not to leave the old man in order to migrate. But when snow fell, it was hard for the birds to find food. Now Christmas was coming, but the old man did not know how to celebrate. Then he had an idea. On Christmas Eve, when the hungry birds were huddled together, the old man took some corn, wheat, seeds, and chicken feed for the hungry little birds. He hung the basket filled with food close to the birdhouse. On Christmas morning, he saw that the basket was crowded with birds. The air was filled with cheery tweeting and singing. It was the best Christmas the old man had ever had.
Thanks for watching. Do like, share, subscribe to Sahil Book House.